Alright, royal watchers and scandal enthusiasts, grab your finest china and pour yourself a steaming cup of Earl Grey, because we're about to dive deeper into the royal quagmire than the Thames at low tide. We're tackling the question that's got everyone from Buckingham to Brighton scratching their heads. Why are the UK royal family protecting Prince Andrew? Strap in, because this ride is bumpier than a carriage ride through Hyde Park. Now, before we start, let me just say, this situation is more complex than trying to understand cricket after a night at the pub. We're dealing with a royal mess that's stickier than spotted dick and more dramatic than an episode of EastEnders. So, let's start with the basics. Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, Queen Elizabeth II's second son, and the man who's been making more headlines than Brexit, has found himself in a pickle bigger than the Tower of London. We're talking about connections to Jeffrey Epstein, accusations of sexual misconduct, and a PR disaster that makes the time Prince Harry dressed up as a Nazi for a costume party look like a minor faux pas. But here's the kicker, despite all this, the royal family seems to be circling the wagons around Andrew faster than you can say God save the Queen. But why? Well, grab another cucumber sandwich, because we're about to break it down. First off, let's talk about family loyalty. The royals are big on this. It's like their version of The Godfather, but with more afternoon tea and less horse heads in beds. Queen Elizabeth, bless her heart, has always had a soft spot for Andrew. He's been called her favorite son, and moms tend to stand by their kids, even when those kids are grown men making decisions dodgier than gas station sushi. But it's not just about mummy's love. The royals are also big on preserving the monarchy's reputation. They've been around longer than sliced bread, and they're not about to let one bad apple spoil the whole orchard. By keeping Andrew close, they can better control the narrative. It's like when you keep that one friend who can't hold their liquor close at the party. You can do damage control before they start telling everyone about that embarrassing thing you did in year 9. Then there's the legal angle. By keeping Andrew in the fold, the royals might have more influence over how he handles the legal challenges he's facing. It's like when your mate's about to send a risky text to their ex, and you keep them close so you can snatch the phone away before they hit send. But wait, there's more. The royal family is also likely concerned about the domino effect. If they were to publicly distance themselves from Andrew, it could open up a whole can of worms. People might start asking questions about other royals, other scandals, other skeletons in the very posh, very expensive royal closet. It's like when you start pulling at a loose thread on your jumper and suddenly you're left with nothing but a pile of yarn and regret. Now, some folks might say, but isn't protecting him making them look worse? And you know what? They might have a point. It's a bit like when you try to cover up a wine stain with a rug, but now everyone's wondering why there's a random rug in the middle of the room. The more the royals seem to shield Andrew, the more people wonder what they're trying to hide. But here's the thing, the royals are playing the long game. They've weathered scandals before, from abdications to divorces to toe-sucking incidents. They're probably hoping that if they can just hold out long enough, this whole Andrew situation will blow over like a bad case of London fog. Of course, this strategy isn't without its risks. In the age of social media and 24/7 news cycles, scandals don't just disappear like they used to. People have long memories, especially when it comes to juicy royal gossip. It's like that embarrassing nickname you got in school. No matter how much time passes, someone always remembers and brings it up at the worst possible moment. There's also the question of public opinion. The royals rely on public support to justify their existence in modern Britain. If protecting Andrew starts to seriously damage their reputation, they might have to rethink their strategy faster than you can say off with his head. After all, the last thing they want is for people to start questioning why they're still bowing to a family that seems to be protecting someone accused of such serious misconduct. But let's not forget, the royals are masters of the long game. They've been doing this for centuries. They know that today's scandal is tomorrow's historical footnote. They're probably hoping that if they can just keep calm and carry on, eventually the world will move on to the next big scandal. Maybe Harry will write another book, or maybe William will be caught eating a burger with a fork. You never know what might capture the public's attention next. There's also the matter of precedent. The royals might be worried about what it would mean for the future if they were to publicly cut ties with Andrew. Would it mean they'd have to do the same for any family member accused of wrongdoing? Where would they draw the line? It's a slippery slope, and the royals are probably keen to avoid sliding down it. And let's not forget the human element in all this. Despite being royalty, they're still a family. Imagine having to deal with a major family scandal while the whole world is watching and commenting. It's like having your most awkward family dinner broadcast live on national television. The pressure must be enormous. There's also the question of what would happen to Andrew if the royals did cut him loose. Where would he go? What would he do? It's not like he can just pop down to the job center and pick up a new career. The royals might be thinking that keeping him close is the best way to manage the situation and prevent any further scandals. But here's another twist to consider. Could the royals be playing a more subtle game? By keeping Andrew in the fold, they are also keeping him under their influence. If he were cut off, who knows what he might say or do? By keeping him close, they can potentially control his actions and statements. It's like keeping your frenemy as your +1 to the party. At least you can keep an eye on them. There's also the matter of royal protocol and tradition. The monarchy is steeped in centuries of tradition, and there's no real precedent for how to handle a situation like this. They can't exactly check the royal handbook for what to do when a prince is accused of serious misconduct. They're in uncharted territory, and their default mode seems to be to close ranks and protect their own. But let's zoom out for a moment and look at the bigger picture. The Andrew scandal is happening against the backdrop of changing attitudes towards power, privilege, and accountability. In the era of #MeToo and increased scrutiny of those in positions of power, the royals' protection of Andrew might seem particularly tone deaf to many. It's also worth considering the international implications. The royal family isn't just a British institution, they're global figures. How they handle this situation could affect Britain's reputation on the world stage. It's like when you're at a dinner party and your relatives start behaving badly. Suddenly, you're the one feeling embarrassed in front of the other guests. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, it's complicated. The royals are walking a tightrope, trying to balance family loyalty, legal considerations, public opinion, and centuries of tradition. It's like trying to do a 3-ring circus act while wearing a crown and waving to the crowds, all while riding a unicycle on a tightrope over a pit of tabloid journalists. Will their strategy work? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this royal drama is far from over. It's got more twists and turns than a castle maze, and we're all along for the ride. So, what do you think? Are the royals right to stand by Andrew, or should they be giving him the royal boot? Is this a case of family loyalty gone too far, or a shrewd strategy to control the narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more royalty spilling sessions. Remember, in the Game of Thrones, the British monarchy, you win or you. Well, you don't exactly die, but you might end up living in California making Netflix documentaries and appearing on Oprah. Until next time, keep calm and gossip on.